especially during this pandemic, because guys, we have to be saving. Please stay on, and it's not too late because we just yeah, it's not too late to invite a friend, share the link to invite others to come on. Please prepare your mind to take notes, listen, and jot down your questions because we'll be having our Q&A section. But before we begin, let us pray. So let's get into the attitude of prayer. Dear most righteous and compassionate Father, thank you for allowing us to be online. Thank you for sparing our lives to see the second day of the week. Please protect those that are coming home from work or from school, that they reach home safely. Please be with each presenter. Please be with each participant, and please be with the person that are watching online. Thank you for everything, oh God, and thank you for just loving us and forgiving us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Tip for the month to help you with your spending habits. Are you PennyWise or pound foolish? The best way to get a better understanding of your finances is to keep a clear record of how you spend your money. Tracking your spending gives you the opportunity to eliminate wasteful spending habits. Proverbs 21, verse 20 reminds us that precious treasures and oil are in the wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it.
This evening we have presenting to us on how to be Pennywise, Mr. Garfield Goldburn. Mr. Goldburn is a relationship manager at the Jamaica National Bank, and his role includes growing their retail banking portfolio, their retail credit portfolio, and business credit portfolio, as well as providing customized solutions for his clients. Mr. Goldburn is an experienced financial services specialist who has held advisory roles in investments, insurance, as well as the pension industry. So get your notepads and pens ready and give him your undivided attention as he presents to us.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. You all hearing me well? So we're going to have a talk back session for the short period that we will be discussing this evening. It's good being here. And generally, I would have a PowerPoint presentation, but I thought in the 20 minutes or so that we'll be conversing, I thought we just talk together. We can do that, right? So we just talk together. And a couple things. My presentation, or what I'll be talking about this evening, is on along the line of credit. Credit. So, I was given to speak on any topic in finance, and a crucial topic that one has to look on now is credit. Yes, you may say it's a pandemic, and why is it that we're talking about that? But for you to advance, credit is going to be very, very key. And so we're going to share some things. This is something that I usually just speak in a general way when I'm doing my presentations. It's just usually a very small part, but I will make it a central part this evening. Before we get into that, let me just share a word of prayer. Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you that we are able to come together with this team of young persons who are inclined to have the best going for their finances. Help what I present be appreciated and that it will impact persons as we go forward. This and other unmentioned mercies I ask of you in Jesus' name. Yes. So we're going to be talking about finances and credit in particular. But let me just drop a little nugget here. 714. Right? Let me just drop a little nugget here. For you for you to do well as it relates to money, you have to have money. We get that? So the new thought nowadays is a little bit of money, right? God's people, whether you're God's people, everybody is God's child. I'm saying to you, for things to grow well, there's no magic to finances. You have to have money. Some persons, for you to be able to talk to them, you have to have money. So we're talking realistically here. We're going to be talking about credit, but I'm just going to be saying, sharing something with you as well. I'm saying to you that how is it that you get monies? That's a crucial thing. How is it that you get monies? So you achieve your financial goals. You can achieve your financial goals by three ways. And credit is what I'll be talking about, but I want to drop these nuggets with you. Three ways you achieve your financial goals. Yes, little bit of money won't work. You have to have big money. Small, you will not be able to achieve. How much is it for medicine? If you're tuition, if you're doing medicine, how much is it for law? I can tell you, law is $1,410,000 per year. Right now, little bit of money will work for you that way. No. So I'm saying to you, you have to put yourself in a place that you would be able to do yourself justice, right? 10,000 US per year for law. And you're looking at 3 years and then 2 years at law school, right? 2 years at Norman Manley, 5 years that. So you might end up with a total of maybe $70,000, $80,000 when you look at all the requisite expenses. So realistically, what is it that you are doing for yourself as it relates to finances? What is it that you are doing? What can you do? So you might be a student, you may be a student, you may be working. What happens then? I think Vaughn may be coming on to talk about budgeting. I leave that part because that is crucial. But how can you increase your income? That's a very pertinent thing, right? And I mentioned three ways that you can achieve your goals. The first way is that you can beg it. You can beg the money to achieve your goals. So you might need to buy a car, you might need to buy a house, you might need to have your tuition covered. How will you achieve that? Beg it. Depend on family and friends. Are you prepared to do that? Are you comfortable doing that? To be at the mercy of your family and friends? Begging. No. So the consideration would be what can you do for yourself? So that's one way. Of course, there are people who would be able to have monies that they can get from family and friends. Yes, man. There are people who can just ask that rich uncle for $3 or $5 million, and that rich uncle will take that up and give it to them. But there are many of us who are unable to do that. So the begging won't work for many of us. So the next option would be what? Next option would be for you to save it and save and invest. So you can beg or borrow, or beg rather, or you can save and invest, and that would mean it would come from your resources. You're working, and so you put aside a portion. Let me distinguish between savings and investments. It's important to understand that savings is about taking care of your short-term goals. So savings doesn't give you a lot of interest. Savings give you an interest rate, and that interest rate is usually very minimal. Secure instruments. So when you saving, deposit instruments. So deposit instruments are savings accounts, your checking account, your term deposits. These are bank instruments. These are what you call bank instruments, deposit instruments, your savings, your current account, your term deposits. And so you will need those to take care of your daily expenses, your savings account, your current account to take care of your daily expenses. You will need them to take care of your emergency funds. Right now in COVID, what is happening? There are people who are not surviving well because they did not put aside emergency monies, 3 to 6 months. And now it has gone past that to a year. 12 months of monies, it is recommended that you put aside now on the premise of emergency. How many persons would have thought COVID would have come? Not many. How many persons were prepared for COVID? Maybe not many as well. And so their 1 month of savings would probably have finished already. What about for the year? How are you? How have you been surviving? Very, very, very crucial. So deposit accounts are very important. Now, after you have covered your deposit accounts, Bill Gates was well, you're not Bill Gates. Bill, that's a good one. Bill Gates was prepared for COVID, of course. But let me tell you something. After you have taken care of your deposits, that's when you look at investments. There are many people who will ask about stocks, and many people will ask about other equity instruments. Many people will ask about mutual funds, IPO, initial public offerings. Those are investment instruments and very important. And wealth creation comes about that. The thing with investments is that investment is a potential return. What does that mean? It doesn't give you an interest rate. Savings account gives you an interest rate. Deposit, term deposits gives you an interest rate, but uh, equity instruments, the investment instruments, gives you a potential return. So there are many people who will cry when they get 1% and 2% for deposits, right? Putting things into perspective. Continuously, I do, have some of the larger clients within my organization. And so many of the companies and individuals, I manage those persons. And so, for example, $500 million. I wonder if someone could hazard a guess what $500 million, 500 million Jamaican would give in terms of an interest rate. Let me not even ask you to do it. Let me answer. 4% taxable. 500 million will attract anywhere between 3.5 to 4% taxable. So after your taxes, withholding taxes, you're looking at 25%. So if it's 4%, how much you end up with? 3, right? Because 1% is the 25%. And that's for $500 million. So can you imagine how much someone with $50,000, what interest rate that they will be getting? So you understand what I say when I say a little bit of money not going to carry you places like how you would want it to. All right, so I'm being realistic, because I'm not just saying, I'm also going to provide a guidance as it relates to that. But we have to be realistic in our thinking. So we have spoken about that you are able to achieve your goals by begging, and savings and investments. Those are two options that you can look at. Savings and investments. And savings pays you a low interest rate because it provides you a deposit accounts rather pays you low interest rate because they give you a sense of security. So these are safe, relatively safe instruments. You can go to your bed, you don't have to worry. Investment instruments depends on how well the investment flows. So your risk appetite is going to be crucial here. You can allow the investment advisor, you can allow the investment host to take the risk and you go to your bed. But there are many people who don't have a lot of money, and so here's what would happen. They will be very concerned about how their monies are going, especially now in COVID. And so they will call their financial and investment advisor every week, every month, every day. How are things going? But when the fluctuations come, they do very much worry because if you purchase a stock today and you purchase it at, let's say, $5, and at the end of the business day, the stock would have, the circuit breaker would allow for 15% of the value of it to fall, for it to fall 15% below its current value. Then say, for example, if it is $5, the stock is at $4.50, and then by the end of the week, the stock may fall to $3. You'd have bought it at $5, which is saying that you had 1,000 units at $5. That is 500,000, right? 500, well, $5, 5,000, right? And let's say at the end of the week the stock falls to $3. That means the value of your portfolio would be $3,000. So you'd have lost $2,000. So investments gives you potential return. It doesn't give you an interest rate. It says you have the potential to earn greater returns than a deposit account. Potential. That's we want to emphasize that potential, right? So it comes down to the understanding of the instrument, and that's where a skilled financial and investment advisor comes in to ensure that your monies flow and flow smoothly for you. Consistency is very key when you are doing savings and investment. Persons want the quick flow and the magic. There's no magic investment. You have to be very disciplined, and it requires, you can leave the expertise if you don't want to take that on. If you don't want to take that on, you can leave that expertise to the financial investment advisor to do that. There are persons who do the trading themselves, who go on the JSE platform, Jamaica Stock Exchange platform, and they do their requisite trading. So they read upon the requisite companies and they take on that risk. They take on the headache themselves. But it is always advisable to leave the financial maneuverings to those with the requisite expertise, right? So you can achieve your goals through what? Through borrow and through investment and deposits. Then the next way you can achieve your goals would be through credit. Borrowing. You can borrow to achieve your goal. And many people will say, "Oh, I don't want to borrow." And many people feel very happy when they don't have any credit obligations. That is good in one sense and bad in another sense, because credit history is very important. Is it at some point you're going to want to purchase a house? How much is a good house? Where do you want that house? All of those impact the price of the house. So let's say a $30 million house. Do you have $30 million put down that when you're ready to purchase that house, you're able to take out that 30 million and buy the house? Most people don't. And so credit is very key. what bankers do like myself, we say, okay, you are looking now to purchase, you are looking now to explore credit. We want to say, what is your history? Why should we lend you people's monies? Because what many persons don't understand is that when you get a loan, it is other persons' monies who would have been deposited with the institution that is then unlent, right? And so it's very key that those who are lending a decision, you don't want to have those monies not being returned. So it is very key that whoever you are lending to, those persons are able to repay. And so one of the ways that you understand if they are a good candidate for credit is by their credit history. And so what has been your credit history? If you don't have a credit history, it says, which is saying if you have never borrowed, it says to us that you're a great risk. We don't know anything about you. So now you don't have any credit. And you might feel good to say, okay, I am a good candidate, but why should we lend you? We don't know what your history is. We don't know you, as Daniel Taylor said. Right? We don't know you. We don't know you. So we want to know that you would have had a credit card and that credit card would have been repaid in good stead, that at the end of the month you pay at least 5% on the credit card of what is owing, that you evidence at times that you repay of all of the credit obligations on that credit card. If you have whatever it is, a line of credit, a little unsecured loan, we hire purchase, whether it is you have a hire purchase with Quartz or one of those companies, credit history is very, very important when we decide to lend in determining why we should lend, right? So those are the three ways that you can achieve your goals. You can beg the money to buy the car, to pay for the tuition, to buy the house, to get married. Yes, it's very costly to get married. So you have to plan for that. Financial planning requires you to put aside finances to cover everything, to take care of the contingencies which COVID brings. So you can beg, you can invest, save and invest. Very important. It won't give you significant interest rates or interest. By virtue of the rates being low, the interest will likewise be low. You won't get that, but you get a sense of security. So your monies will be safe. And so you can sleep well at night. And in investments, depends on how you partner, because if you partner with someone and or an organization and an instrument that there is great guidance, you can get good returns on your funds. As a matter of fact, Jamaica Stock Exchange equities, you can earn even 40%. There are stocks which you can earn up to 100%, but that depends on what is happening. It's not a guarantee, but there are different factors which come into play as it relates to that, right? And then there is credit, where you can borrow the monies to achieve your financial goals. Those are the only three ways that you can achieve your goals. Only three ways. There are no other ways that you can achieve those goals, right? So that is as it relates to credit. Before I get into speaking to some aspects of credit, let me also say other ways that you can increase your income. So there are ways you can increase your income now. So two things: you want to achieve your goals, You want to reduce your costs, and at the same time, you want to increase your income. Let's say you want to increase income. Increasing income could mean an increase in your capabilities, increase your education. So if you advance educationally, it's not a guarantee, but it puts you in better stead to earn more. And so that will help. Cross training as well. So if you're working at an organization, try to learn different departments. So if you learn other departments, an opening comes up, then you are able to take on that role, increase monies. Increasing income as well. What can you do for yourself? I always say skills pay the bills. And I'm a testimony of that. Here's what I say. I'm a writer as well. Many people know of me, know me as a writer more than a financial expert, which I've been doing for so many years. And I've had great success in many of the top financial organizations in Jamaica and continue to do so. So that's has been my day job for many years. But more people know me in certain circles, more people know me as a writer, whether it is that I write for the Gleaner, financial information, social commentary, whether it is that I write a song, whether it is I write a play, whether it is I write poems, I write extensively and I commercialize that. So I am an author and I have a book which was published in 2012 and it was at UWE Bookshop and a couple other places. But for the most part, I sold my book myself. I cut out the middleman, sold the book, $1,500 for a book. And as the businessman that I am, I made a very good profit. And my wife keeps saying to me, time for the second, third book. I have material now that can put out 5, 6, 7, 8 books right now, including children books, which I just wrote 2 children books for my 2-year-old. Very, very key because you want material and you want to impact how your child thinks, then write your own stuff. So I have those 2 children books to come out. What am I saying? I'm saying, what are your skills? What do you have within you that you can do? Can you sing? What are you doing about that? Well, it's COVID time now, but you have Zoom. You can sing on Zoom and make income from that. Play an instrument. I know of a beautiful. I saw what is it now? A vegetarian bread recently, and I'm telling you, if I weren't in Kingston that day, I would have I would have I've bought one of those, and I'm still going to buy it from that particular person. You know, because you have to know about your income. How can you increase your income? So we're talking about money, and a little bit of money not going to work. So you have to look within yourself to see what you can do for you. How can you commercialize your talents, your skills? I am doing it. Every year I get a royalty check. I just got a royalty check December 9th. Last well, sometime this week. Was it Monday? I think is today's what, Monday. Sometime last week I got a royalty check for that book that I published in 2012. Every year I get royalty for that. So what am I saying? I'm saying that you have to look within you. Skills pay the bills. Very, very, very key as it relates to that. YouTube, many people are earning an income from having a YouTube channel. What is it that you can talk about? Get persons to subscribe, earn a living from that. There are so many people who are earning a substantial living from YouTube. There's a particular channel which I listen very often, Sir P. Yes, and I'm into, I have a passion for justice, and so I listen to those channels. And so yeah, man. So Sir P channel I listen very often, and Sir P has what? How many subscribers now? So many hundreds of thousands, and he's making money. He's making significant monies from just being a YouTuber. So I'm saying to you, you have to look within yourself. We're not into the little bit of money around here, right? What can you do for yourself? And the truth is, God is good, because as a manager, my income is favorable, but I have to look and say what will happen when I retire. I have a 2-year-old almost ready for university now. So in a few years, she'll be ready for university. If she says she wants to be a lawyer, doctor, what is it? I'm going to say I only have monies for her to be a teacher. No disrespect to being a teacher, right? But we know the disparity in the figures there. So I have to be financially prepared. Is it that income? Is it that the cost of goods lessens each year, or it increases? I don't want to think that it increases. And so the more monies I have, the better prepared I am to deal with the different circumstances that will come at me. Different emergencies, anything can happen. I can lose my main source of income. What will happen then? I need to have as much available to me, right? So those are some points. And in terms of reducing expenses, if you have loans now, you can go in and speak with your financial institution, get a moratorium on your loan. So organizations now, financial organizations are receptive to you coming in to talk to them on the premise that you may have lost your job, income, all of those things, right? So you can go in and talk with your financial institution. Restructure your facility for a longer period. It means more income in your pocket. Spend less, right? So I keep saying the story that my wife cuts my hair, and it's true. Serious, serious, serious. My wife cuts my hair. My daughter tries, but I don't allow her much. She wants to follow mommy. but, but I don't think I'd go on the road if she were to do that. But the truth is, I would pay $1,000 per week to cut my hair. How much is that per month? $4,000. Check that from March of this year. That's what? 9 months, 9 fours, $36,000 I would have saved. My barber is not receptive to my wife right now because that income he would have got, I save that in my pocket. And my income is my wife's income, and her income is mine. So let's put that out there. All right. So I'm saying to you, you have to look at how you can save a little bit of money. We're trying to get past that. So what can you do to reduce your expenses? My wife, and never prefer that will come. That will come for all the single persons out there. Yeah, man. Let's leave it to God. So here's what I said, the backyard garden. My wife also plants backyard garden. So we moved into a new house recently. Right, but we built a new house, and pineapple, um a couple more crops. So all of those things, we would save monies. Instead of spending at the market, we reap those crops and use them in house, and we also give away. So the point is that you have to think of different things that you can do. The utilities, what are you doing? Sometimes we have the lights on all night. We go into the fridge 24/7. Think about those things, right? Carpool. Sometimes I'm fortunate to work from home now, so that is good. And so I do I mean, I can go in office if I want, but I have, I guess, the luxury of being able to do my job from home. My wife goes into office, so that's one car which doesn't use gas. So my wife would drive her vehicle, and I am at home. So that's a good thing right there. And Sabbath, we drive one vehicle when we go to church. So you have to think about ways you can manage your expenses, and there are lots more. I'd said that those weren't the main parts of my conversation, but I hope that much of what I said it would resonate with you. Let's look on some aspects of credit, right? Let's look on some aspects of credit, fundamentals of of lending. All right. So the 6 C's of credit, very important. Sometimes when you go to the bank, why is it that you don't get the loan? Why don't you get the loan? Why didn't you get the loan? Let me tell you something. You sometimes are the cause of why you don't get the loan. Some of us are very stubborn. You don't listen to the banker. The banker will tell you, take this to us, do this, but then you choose to do what you want to do. 6 C's of credit. The first C is compliance. So the banker asks you for your proof of address, ask you for your proof of income, and other documents which are mandated by the Bank of Jamaica. But then you're saying, why is the bank asking so many questions? Why the bank needs to know that? But then you have to blame the scammers, you have to blame the terrorists, you have to blame the, the, the those who, as they would call them, the pharmacists, those who sell drugs, because the Bank of Jamaica mandates that we, as financial institution and especially banks, that we are able to identify with our customers. And so we want to stop illegal prostitution. Illegal, well, prostitution is illegal. We want to stop illegal activities, which includes prostitution, which includes terrorism, which includes um, other, money laundering, all of these things. We want to stop all of those things. And so the Bank of Jamaica puts the commercial banks in a position to be a police, to play a role as a police officer. And so we ask these questions because if we don't, we are going to get locked down and individual staff will have to pay fines or go to prison. You never knew that, did you? It's the truth. And so when we ask you questions and say, take those documents to us, do so. Because if we go against those regulations from an individual perspective, individuals can go to prison or they may pay a fine and institution gets locked down. I remember some years ago when I was at NCB, and I remember there was a particular person who was on the President of the United States banned list. And I remember that person brought $40 million to a particular branch of NCB. It is public knowledge, so it was out there. And for whatever reason, it was accepted. And there are certain constraints, which you may know $1 million in terms of cash, that over that is going to be a challenge for you to deposit. You shouldn't be doing transactions for over $1 million. There are certain conditions to that. So just know those things, right? And this person went to that branch, and can I tell you, what happened? The staff was eventually fired, 'Cause they, the, 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 the staff was eventually fired, because they, 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 they there was an extradition order which came down for that person to be extradited, and those monies, the same person tried to go back for that $40 million, but it never worked out, and NCB nearly got in trouble, and the staff was actually fired. So when we say compliance, follow what is requested of you as it relates to compliance. We're asking for you to do so, right? Very, very important. Capacity, your capacity. This is one of the reasons why you may not get the loan. Your capacity, and what we mean by that, for example, your debt service ratio. Here's how you can know if you have a good debt service ratio or not. Add up all of your income, add up all of your expenses, and your expenses would include your loans. Let's say your all of your credit obligations then, right? All of your loans. So all of your expenses and all of your income rather, all of your income and all of your loans. And your loan should not pass 50% of your gross income. So if your gross income is say $200,000, that means your loan shouldn't pass $100,000, right? Some organizations, in that case, that's a 50% debt service ratio. For some organizations, they have a 40% debt service ratio, which is saying that if your gross income is $200,000, your loan shouldn't pass $80,000 if you have a 40% debt service ratio, right? What that is saying, and the science behind that is saying to the banker is that if you use 50 or 40%, depending on the debt service ratio, to pay for your loans, the rest of the monies would be to take care of your requisite expenses, how you live, pay this, pay that, right? So your capacity is very important. If you check up your credit obligations and they pass 50%, we are not saying you must not come to the bank. You can still come to the bank, because there are ways that we are able to help you to restructure your debt for your debts to not be over the 50% or to be less than the 50%. So even if you do it and you check it, still come to us if it is over. We have the requisite skills to still be able to put you in good stead, right? So your debt service ratio is another way. And the third thing, the third C is your character. Why didn't you get the loan? You don't have a good character. What do I mean by that? You are not repaying your loan. Why didn't you repay your loan? Why are you not repaying your loan? So you have a credit card and you choose not to repay. It's going to affect you. Credit bureaus right now, if you have high purchase, any loan at all, the credit bureau, and in some cases, if your phone is hooked up straight and you pay a monthly fee, if you don't pay on time, if you don't pay the amount you're supposed to pay, it sometimes shows up on the credit reports, because some of these telecommunications providers, they do provide a report to the credit bureaus. So note that. So I'm saying to you, your character, it's an independent position which comes from the credit bureaus. They do make mistakes. Please note that. Credit bureaus do make mistakes. I've seen many. So you need to check your credit history, which there is a free one every year. So you can ask each credit bureau, CRIF, Credit Info, those are the names of the two bureaus, for a credit history. Every year, you are entitled to a free one every year, right? You can ask for that credit history. If you don't repay for whatever reason, if you don't restructure your loan, so if you have lost your job, you don't come in and talk, your financial institution is going to show up. And so when you go somewhere else for a loan, or come to that same institution, it's going to be a challenge for you to get the loan because it is telling us that you weren't a good person. You did not repay. And so the implication on that is going to be very negative on you. So the character is one such, right? Another C, collateral. For some loans, you may need collateral, right? You might be buying a house and it may require um, that we might need something to be collateralized. For the most part, in terms of, say, buying an asset like a car, the car, depending on the year, would be the collateral, right? So we will lend you the money to buy the vehicle and use the vehicle as the collateral. And in some cases, for the house as well, usually that is the case. Those kinds of assets, those would be the collateral for those facilities. Capital, some loans will require you to invest a portion. So let's go back to the vehicle as well. Depends on the year. If it's a new vehicle, for the most part, you may be able to get it 100% finance. If it is a vehicle 5 years, well, if it is less than a year, there may be percentages that you may have to come up with. So if it is 1 year old, we might finance it 90% and you come up with 10%, right? So capital, you might need to have some capital for you to get the loan. And then there's the condition, right? The last C is the condition. So we might ask for your loan payment to be done by salary deduction. That's a condition. We might state, for example, you will get X interest rate for a particular period, and then it changes to another rate. Those might be conditions. Those might be other conditions as well. So these are some of the reasons why you may or may not get the loan. And just to sum them up again, the first one is compliance. Give the documents that have been requested of you, or you won't get the loan. Whether it is to open an account or for the loan, do what the banker asks of you. Capacity, your ability to repay, that's what the capacity is. And the debt service ratio may range anywhere between 40 and 50%, which is 40 or 50% of your gross income. Your loan shouldn't pass those percentages. Then you would have to have a good character, and the character says that you repaid your loan, there is nothing untoward, and so the bank will be receptive to lending to you. Then there is also the collateral, and that's pretty easy. It depends on the asset you're purchasing. That could be the collateral. Capital, you have to have some monies for you to be able to get the loan, and there are certain conditions that may be imposed for you to get the loan. I know I would have passed my time. That is the essence of what I want to share with you, what I wanted to share with you this evening. I hope you were impacted by same. I'd mentioned to Sean that I have a challenge as it relates to this evening, and so I would prefer to take the questions now. If there are any questions, I would answer them um, right away before I exit. Open to your questions. I'd have spoken about the 6 C's of credit. I'd have spoken about, just shared some tips on how you can achieve your goals. And I would have shared as well the how you can save and conserve in terms of expenses, as well as tips on how you can increase your income. So anywhere along that line or anything else, but as a matter of fact, along the lines of finance, and you want to ask a question, I'm willing to respond.
Hi, Mr. Garfield. I hope you're hearing me. I just wanted to ask a question in relation to a savings plan in the form of partners. What do you think about those? Either the ones between personal partners and the institution partner plans.
Okay. All right. Well, I remember growing up, and my mom was a banker for the community in terms of partner. And my mom, very good person, so I would recommend my mom, of course. But in a general way, let the institution take the risk. So I don't encourage. Well, I mean, that's going to be a personal position, but it's not something I highly encourage. Whether it is with families or with friends, because the risks are so high. Wherein if you do a partner with friends, some persons will get their draw and then you won't see them again. You won't hear from them. It's very difficult getting those monies. Right? With the bank, you get interest. You can get interest on your monies. And then there's the security. Those are the key things, especially now in COVID, can't afford for your monies to just go down the drain like that. So I would say go with the institution. There are several institutions which offer partner plans. And so I would say go with those. It's a form of savings. It helps to increase your monies. I I hope that answered your question. I
Yeah.
see a question here that says, can you tell us more about the Jamaica Stock Exchange investment opportunities? Well, there's so much to say. Read that. Here's what I would say. The time won't necessarily allow. I would say, first of all, what I can encourage you to do is to read up on the Jamaica Stock Exchange, read up on the JSE, read up about stocks, and then you can reach out to a licensed financial advisor. It is not one hat fits all. Absolutely not, because your propensity to risk would be much different than mine. There are persons who are very um, receptive to risks, and so they will be willing to lose all of the monies that they have. Very unwise, but that's a prerogative that they may want to exercise. Certainly is not something that I would recommend, because as you structure your portfolio, what is very key is understanding that you need to cover your basics, you need to cover your fundamentals. So deposit needs must be covered. And I mentioned some earlier, which were the emergency fund, emergency monies. So you see, finance is easy, once you work with the structure. So before you even reach diversity, you have to cover your fundamentals. So you have to take care of your deposit needs. You need to eat. You can't be putting investment monies. You can't be putting deposit monies in investment instrument. So you can't invest in the money that you need to eat and for transportation. How will you survive? Right? Very, very, very key things. So after you've covered your deposit needs, that is when you look on investments. And investment instruments which provide lucrative opportunities now in Jamaica are the IPOs, initial public offerings. Companies may decide that they want to get monies to expand their businesses. And as a result of that, what they do is they come to the public and say, guess what? Help us to fund our business. That is that is what an initial public offering is about. You being able to buy into an organization, buy shares into the organization. And so for many people, what they tend to do is in it, because demand and supply is what impacts the price. So there's not much significant science to trading stocks. The fundamentals, demand and supply. Demand and supply. So the greater demand, it drives up the price of the stock, appreciation. right? So in the early days, most people in purchasing the units, that drives up the price, and so the price goes up very heavily. High goes to usually goes to a good level, and so within a month, many persons, what they tend to do is just sell. There are persons with the mindset of Warren Buffett, buy, hold, and prosper, who Mr. Leachin has that mindset as well in many of his equities. That's the approach he takes: buy, hold, and prosper. So he buys them, keeps them for a period, 2 years, 3 years, which there are financial advisors which will tell you to keep them for that period. But it's about you and your goals that you have and the approach that you take, because nothing is wrong with somebody who aggressively plays the market and is able to make significant returns in a short period of time. It is not for everybody, but on a personal basis, it may be for you. Right? I always say, though, cover your fundamentals first before you look at investments. Other instruments would be bonds. Bonds may not be as aggressive as equities, depends, because there are certain instruments. I remember a few years ago there were bonds which people were making a killing of. I made a good amount of money off those as well. But then, what is your propensity to risk, right? So one on one, you can always have a discussion with a financial slash investment advisor as it relates to investment instruments such as stocks, bonds, mutual funds, those instruments. All right. More questions?
Uh, Good night, everybody. My question is, can you, like the regular partner when you get through with someone like that, can you make a partner and with the banks, with any of the banks, and actually try to save your money? And if it and it can be work like when you get fear draw, you can't trust the bank that the money that you throw with them, we call partnership. Can you sure say your money really safe than the regular people them who are outdoors?
All right. So let me respond to that. Well, absolutely. You tell me, if I were to ask you that question, what would your answer be?
To me, I was thinking about what the money what you're trying with the bank, you when I fear draw, you will kind of have a little bit more interest or something that because
Do you think it
say
is
you
safer
have a
than
part.
if you were doing it with somebody, an
Yes, because
individual?
when you're doing with somebody, people will be like robbing you or something like that. You're not getting a collect money when your draw comes something like that.
Right. So you answer your question then. So is it safer? Yes. Do you earn more? Yes, you earn interest. So there we go. I would say best route is the organization against the individual. I'm not discouraging you from doing it with an individual. I'm just saying, for me, I would go with the safer route, secure your funds, especially in this time. All right. Mm.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the questions. Thank you, Mr. Garfield, for what you would have shared. Our second presenter for tonight hails from the beautiful parish of Portland. She started off in the sciences, but God would have had it that she fell in love with the numbers shortly after. She went on to complete her first degree at the Northern Caribbean University and has recently finished her Executive Masters of Business Administration at the University of the Commonwealth Caribbean. She uses her skills and knowledge to serve the church as treasurer for over 10 years. She has over 15 years experience in finance, serving in mega corporations. Last but not least, she aids many in getting out of debt. She has aided families in preparing their budget to get their finances back on track. Among all these, what she's most proud about is her walk with God. The person I speak of is none other than the treasury manager at Caribbean Boilers, Miss Vernon Burton.
Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody had a great day. And thank you very much, Shan. But it's Veron and not Vernon. We're going to talk about budgeting this evening. Can you please allow me to share my screen?
Miss Burton, permission is granted.
Okay, okay. There we go. All right. So before we start, we are going to just talk to the big man upstairs for 2 seconds. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your love. We thank you for all you have done in our lives. Father, I am nothing in your presence once more. And I ask you that as we talk, help that the right words will come out and that your people will understand and we will all be good money managers for you. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So, budgeting. Now, I want you to talk back to me. I want, not yet. We are going to be talking about what is budgeting and how it can help us and how we can be better individuals just by budgeting. Now, many persons think that budgets are to budget, or when you're budgeting, it's hard and it's time consuming and it's restrictive. It puts you in a block and it allows you that you can't spend as much as you want. Of course, when you try to budget, it's gonna take a long process to get into the knack of it. But once you get the hang of it, you will see that budgeting is well worth it, because budgeting does not tell you not to spend. It gives you the permission to spend the right way. Let me say that one more time. Budgeting does not tell you what not to spend. It gives you permission to spend the right way. Listen, all of us work too hard for our money. And at the end of the month or at the end of the week, all we can do is, oh my goodness, where all of my money gone? I don't know. This is too much. Why I can't pay my bills every month? Or, oh my goodness, why am I so broke after I put in so much hours at work? But with a budget, you don't have to think like that. So I want you to tell me, can anybody tell me what they think a budget is? I want to hear your thoughts.
It is the control of them, or you control the money.
How you control your money. How you control your money wisely. Very good. Anybody else?
Portioning out and allocating your funds on a monthly or yearly basis. Where
right. I think you should be doing the presentation. I just think you should be doing the presentation. Yes, portioning your money and allocating it in the right way. How you should spend your money. A budget is a plan. You get money and you plan how you're going to spend the money, right? It's a plan for what's coming in, but not only for what is coming in, you also have to plan what is going out. When you budget every month, you're giving your money purpose. You are taking control of your money. When you budget, you see what you make and you'll also see how you spend it. And if you should ever find out that you're overspending, you just get up and make the change. You take control of your money. This evening, we're gonna show our money who is boss. But I know some of you might be asking, why should I budget? All right, fine. I know that budget is planning and you know, saying to ourselves, all right, this is how much money I make and this is how I'm gonna spend it. But why should we? Why should we budget? I need somebody to answer. Why should we budget?
All right.
Call names.
The reason why we need to budget, we need to know how we can help our daily needs and our daily activity on a regular basis. Also, or to find out how many money that you are spending for each month or each week after you get your paycheck, and how you can balance yourself and try to make a little savings out of the money that you are worth.
Who am I speaking with?
And this is Kimroy Brown.
Kimroy. So you just told me what a budget is. I want to know why you should budget. Why on earth should I even waste my time to write down how much money I am making versus how much money I'm spending? What do you think is the real purpose?
So we don't overspend and we don't get ourselves in debt.
Absolutely. Definitely. Anybody else?
So that we can have like stability and growth. You're not stagnant. You don't stay at the same place for the whole rest of your life. You have the one job. Every day every week, all you can do is have your bus fare or pay the bills. You need to have a plan so that I'm gonna stabilize myself and then allow for room for growth.
Absolutely. Listen, you guys listen, anybody want to take over the presentation? Because it seems as if everybody has this whole budgeting thing locked. Everybody know what to budget. But let me just give you just a little bit more insight. It is really being intentional. It's like you sit down and you set a goal and you say, listen, this is what I am going to do. Budgeting will help you achieve your goal. I am sure many of us have a whole lot of different goals. For example, getting out of debt, saving for our retirement. I know we have a lot of young people here this evening and you might not be thinking about retirement any at all, but it is very important. But then there's also the house that we want to buy and there's the car, not to mention that big fairy tale weddings that a lot of us are planning for. You have to write down your goal because I know many of us have some huge goals, but how are we going to reach those goals? Write it down, put it on a piece of paper and watch yourself spending your money. When you are planning a budget, a simple spending your money intentionally and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm working towards. Money gives you the freedom to spend. Once something has been budgeted for, you won't feel guilty when you spend the money and buy. So if you wrote a budget and you say, next month, I'm going to buy a pair of shoes because I need a pair of shoes. You don't have to feel guilty when you have purchased the pair of shoes because you really need it, right? All right, now we're going to go into some tips, just a little tips about your daily life and how you can go about budgeting. Now, I don't want you to write down everything and say, I say that's how it should go. These are just a few ideas that you can make note of, and I'm sure it will help you. All right, our first tip is to have a goal, as I said earlier, or some goals. Many of us might have a student loan. I am sure we all go to school. Some you might not take loan, and as Garfield said earlier, you might beg the money to go to school, or you might have borrowed it. But for those who have borrowed the loan or the money from whomever, you have to pay it back. So write down your goal. So the first thing you do, and not because I'm saying them in this order, it means it's the priority. It just means that these are some of the things that you can do. Set a goal, have a goal. whether whatever it is you want to do, whatever the reason you are making these sacrifices. So every month you look at it, you say, I am $500 closer to my house. Yes, it may be a $34 million house that is on top of the highest hill that you can imagine, but I am $500 closer. So at the end of this year, when you look in your bank account and you see $5,000, you say, okay, I have 33,990,000. Help me, somebody with the math brain. 995,000, something. You're closer to your $34 million house, right? The next thing is to budget to zero. If you get $20,000 a month, let's just use, all right, let's use 10. If you get $10,000 a month, budget your $10,000 right down to the very last zero. So put in everything that you can, but make sure that you're writing it down. So you don't leave any over for any frivolous spending, and then you lose sight of your goal. So that's the second one that we're gonna do. We're gonna make a zero budget, meaning all your income equals all your expense. Next, you're gonna do your budget together. For those of us, or for those who are single, you find an accountability partner, somebody who you trust, somebody who you can share the budget with. And you say to them, listen, this is what I am working towards, and this is what I want you to help me with. Share your budget with that person. You're not afraid to say to the person, I am getting $100,000 a month, or I'm getting $20,000 a month. You're not afraid. It's somebody that you can sit down and relax. Daniel, I want to know why you're laughing. And you relax and you can talk with them and say to them, listen, this is what I'm earning, and this is, I need you to keep me accountable for my budget. For those who are married, sit down with your partner, have a budgeting evening, sit down and make it a family event, because remember, now that you're married, is no longer my money. It's not your money or my money. It is our money. So work together, sit down and think of your future together, how you can achieve whatever it is that you both want to do together. For both scenarios, your accountability partner, make it fun. Don't make it seem like some drag, boring thing that I can't be bothered with this budgeting thing. Make it like a movie night. You have some snacks, you have some hot dogs and some popcorn, and you sit down and you write your budget together. So it becomes exciting. It's something that you look forward to every week or every month. The next point is every month is different. Some months you have to budget for things that you never imagined. For those who are parents, there is back to school. For those who have people who celebrates birthday all year round like myself, I mean, you have to buy a gift. You have to get them something. So you plan for the, and for those of you who are planning to buy me a birthday gift, yes, my birthday is in August and I start celebrating from now, right? So yes, so you put that on your budget, present for Veron, and you budget for it. You put down your $10 for the present until the birthday comes along. Don't be surprised when these expenses come up, because they are going to come up at some given time. You may have insurance, you may have car maintenance, and the main one is sickness. Nobody can plan sickness. You don't know when it's going to happen. So last month's budget can be very different from this month's budget. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to write a budget because somebody was sick this month. So if you spent $10,000 out of the $100,000 or the $20,000 that you earn on sickness, redo your budget and add the $10,000 in there. It's going to take away from something. Something is going to be missed. You're going to, it's like you're going to have to redo the budget, switch it up. If you, we can't take any chances with the JPS, but if your light bill, if your water bill comes to $1,000 and you can split it and you put $500 over to the illness and $500 to pay on the water bill. If you normally spend $5,000 at the supermarket, you now spend 4 or 5. You switch it around just so you can squeeze the health or the sickness into your budget. The next one is start with the most important categories first. Now, I'm assuming we are all Adventists, maybe not everybody. So as Adventists, what is the first thing that is on our budget? Somebody open their mic and tell me.
Our tithe.
Your what?
Tithe.
Exactly. There's something else.
And your offering.
Absolutely, absolutely. Your tithes and your offerings, very, very, very important. So that is our priority. That goes on the top of the list because guess what? That is not ours. That is definitely not ours. You put it right up there because God says, give back to me what is mine. So you put the tithe right at the top. Now tell me, anybody can tell me what comes next?
Savings or investments.
Absolutely. Daniel, all right, I'm going to turn off my mic and I'm going to allow you to do it. Yes, savings. You pay yourself. Now, if you, let's work with the $10,000 a month. It doesn't mean that you're going to put your tithe 1,000 and then the next thing for yourself, you're going to put $8,000. No, absolutely not. You be realistic. So you tell yourself that you're saving $100 every month. It might seem small, but earlier we learned every little make a muckle. You just keep putting it down and watch it grow. And after that, you look about your 4 walls, and the 4 walls are your utilities. I'm not hearing you. You're talking and I'm not hearing you.
Your utilities.
Yes.
What you call it, groceries.
Yes.
Of course, have rent. I don't know if that's one.
Transportation. So okay. Utilities, food and clothing, and your transportation, because those are important. We have to live. We have to be very realistic. Those things are what makes us, continue. We go to work and we do those things, but you can't go to work naked. Well, it's not right for you to go to work naked, right? And you have to take the bus or the taxi, and if you drive, you have to put gas in the car and you have to maintain the car. So those things are important. So you write those things down and you put them on your list. The next thing that we're looking at is to pay off your debt. If you have debt, paying it off needs also to be a top priority. But you're going to use baby steps. It doesn't mean that because you owe $1 million to student loan, you're going to pay off the whole $1 million at once. And you may look at the $10,000 that you're getting every week and say, oh my goodness, I will never pay off this $1 million loan. But you have to take it in strides, baby steps. Every step counts. So you do it one step at a time and little by little. However, you can't let the loan sit down there. You have to attack it. You have to get mad at the loan. You have to say, listen, I am taking charge of this. This is not going to ruin my life, right? You're not going to sit down and stress yourself and worry and say, oh my goodness, I have this $1 million loan over my head and it will never be paid off for all the years of my life. No, you take your time and you budget little by little. You'll find to know how that loan balance comes down so easily. The next thing is, don't be afraid to trim your budget. Don't be afraid to, let's say you have budgeted $5,000 for the cable bill, but something came up next month. Don't be afraid to call Flow or Digicel and say, listen, I needed to disconnect the bill. I needed to disconnect the cable. Put it on hold for a little bit. Switch things up. If you usually go to the supermarket and spend $5,000, tell yourself, listen, because of what happened this time, I'm going to have to cut the $5,000 bill and I'm going to spend $4,000 instead. Also, don't be afraid when you go to the supermarket. Don't be embarrassed. if you go up to the counter and what you take up comes to $3,000 and you had only planned to spend $2,900, put back the crackers. Put it back. There's nothing wrong in putting back the crackers. Don't be afraid. You just have, you plan to spend $2,900, you intend to spend $2,900, and that's what you're spending. And another thing I want you to do is to track your progress. So you write a budget. Just so you know, I still have my little budget books from, let's say, 2006 until now. I still have my little books with my budget. I remember when I was getting $15,000 a month for my salary. I remember. I don't know how I managed, but I managed $15,000 a month. And at that time, I used to go home every weekend. No, I used to go Spanish Town every weekend. So I'm going Spanish Town this weekend. Next weekend is Portland. So, I mean, I don't know how I manage, but now when I look at it, all I can say is, oh my goodness, God has brought me far. Because guess what? I never forget to put my tithe at the top of my budget. All right. The next thing is to create a buffer in your budget. Can anybody tell me what that means? What does it mean to have a buffer in your budget?
For contingencies.
Yeah, I use big word, man. I don't know what contingency means.
Just in case of any emergency.
Thank you. Thank you. In other words, miscellaneous. Anything can come up. So you just put a little thing in there. And when you put the little thing in the budget, if anything really come up, then you have the money. If anything don't come up, then you remember now you're saving towards that birthday gift for me. So you could put it towards that birthday gift, right? So that little buffer that you have there, you keep it there every month just in case anything happens. The next thing is, which is very, very, very important, be content and quit the comparisons. Now, how many of us, your friend have an iPhone 11 Pro? I don't remember the name. How many of us friends have one? But because the friend, uncle who have some money who lives in England or lives in America bought the phone for them, you have to get one for yourself. Why you can't use a Huawei or an ordinary Nokia? I mean, I know those phones don't exist anymore, but I'm just saying, use a phone that you have a little internet access and you can make and receive call as much as possible. And you can go on the internet, you can go on Zoom, you can do everything, but you don't have to get a brand phone, a nice high-end new technology, the latest model. You don't have to. Stop comparing yourself. Don't try and keep up with the Joneses. Be very happy with who you are, what you have, and you'll frightened to know how you will extend so much above everything that you can ever imagine. The next step is to give yourself lots of grace. Now, I know some of you might be wondering what that means, but it usually takes 3 to 4 months to get a good handle on the whole budgeting thing. It won't be perfect the first time or the second time. And you can't be too hard on yourself. So you write the budget and the budget right down to the zero and everything is okay. And you do it good the first month, the second month, but the third month you're going back to spending something where you never planned for. Don't be too hard on yourself. We are usually the hardest individuals on ourselves. Be nice. Tell yourself, listen, I can do better next month. And do better next month. Cut yourself some slacks, but make sure you pick up on the correct budgeting habit the next time. The next tip is use cash for certain budget categories that trip you up, meaning things that always get you spending more. Can you give me an example of you go somewhere and you always end up spending more than what you planned for?
Clothes and foods.
Clothes and shoes?
Clothes and food.
Oh, clothes and food, absolutely, especially the food part.
Oh my God.
Those who don't, listen, practice go into the supermarket with a list. You know, those supermarkets are they're very strategic, you know, they put the things that are captivating to the eyes. No, the other day I went into Mega Mart. Whole Mega Mart at the front full of Christmas cake. No, if you don't tell yourself, listen, I did not come inside here to buy any Christmas cake. You are going to come out there because you're going to start thinking, oh, I need to give cake to Mary, and I need to give cake to this person, and this person needs a slice of cake. And you come out of the supermarket with 5 cakes and 2 things that you need in the house. You end up spending $5,000 and you went in there to only spend 2. Walk with a budget. Not a budget, a shopping list. Walk with a shopping list. Now, if you find that when you go into the supermarket, you keep spending much more than what you plan, tell you what you do. Stop at the ATM, give somebody the card to keep, take the $5,000 out of the machine and walk with only the $5,000 into the supermarket. There is no way, unless you're going in there to beg somebody some additional money, there is no way that you can spend more than what you carry into the supermarket. And that's what I meant when I say use cash for certain budget categories. Carry the raw cash with you. So the only thing you'll come out with is what you went in the supermarket for, because you'll have a general idea what the prices are. So you come out of the supermarket with exactly what you went in there for, and you spend the right amount of money that you have budgeted for to use. You won't end up spending much more than what you had planned. And the next thing is, this is my last tip. And I know Garfield spoke about it, getting credit cards. And I know a lot of our financial institutions target our young people, the ones who have just left college and the ones who are in their nice jobs and stuff, to give you credit cards. But I'm not saying to get rid of your credit cards if you're managing well. If you are managing your credit cards, fine, that's okay. But if you find that you have maxed your credit card and you can only afford to pay the minimum balances every month, something is wrong. You're not managing, because you are spending money that is not yours, and you also have to pay 50% interest on that money that you spent at the end of the month. So if your credit card balance is $50,000, at the end of the month, if you have not paid that $50,000, you will end up paying, but the 50% interest is calculated for the year. So you might end up paying $1,500 for the month in interest. The minimum payment is $1,000. So you find out that every month when you pay the minimum payment, you end up owing more on the card than less. My idea, cut up the whole of the credit card. Just get rid of them. Only if you can't manage. But if you find they are important, because for those things that you didn't plan for that can come up, you keep the credit card for, I'm going to use, I don't remember your name, I'm going to use your word, for contingency. You use the credit card, but you can give it to your accountable partner. Give it to them and say, hold on to this credit card for me, just in case anything happens, because things do happen. Accidents happen, incidents happen, things that you never planned for. You can be walking and you slip and break your foot on the road and you have to go to the hospital. You didn't plan for that to happen, but it happened. You can be at church and playing one night and you drop and break your hand. You never planned for that, but things do happen. So you can keep your credit cards, but make sure you're being very accountable for them. Now, for those of us who have little or no income at all, if your income fluctuates, so let's say some of us, if you're a sales rep and you'll get the basic this month because you never make the amount of sale that you should have to get all of that commission, you can write a budget. You do a budget on the lowest amount that you can possibly get, which would be now your basic salary in this case. So make sure that your budget every month is your basic salary. It can't get any less than that, because that is what you are carrying home, or what you think you will carry home. You do a budget for your basic salary every month. And then the next month, if you get your incentive, you're going to still write down things that you would love to have. And if next month you get the incentive or the commission, then you can buy the other thing. But what if you don't have a job? What if you lost your job? That's the right opportunity, because I'm sure a lot of us have lots of talents, lots of creative juices that we have that we don't use. And we sit on it, we get up every day and we go to this job and we come home and we are so tired and frustrated. No, but when you lose a job, the first thing is acknowledge it. Say, listen, I've lost my job, but I need to eat, I need to live, I need to survive. You're frightened to know that you can make slippers and you didn't even know that you could make slippers. I love flowers. Maybe I could start selling the plants on my veranda, start redoing them and selling them to people. And I'm just saying, you might never know when you have lost that job, it gives you an opportunity to be creative and to think about all of those talents that God have given you, and you sit on it now, not doing anything. Now is the time for you to use it up. And then if you have lost your job, you know that there are still things that you need to do. First, you focus again on your 4 walls, the things that have to be done at any given time. No matter what, you have to pay your utilities, you have to return your tithe. So whatever little funds you would have gotten, when you start using your talent to yourself, and trust me, God will definitely come in for you. When you start doing all of those things, he will allow you to shine and he will provide all the funds for you. And when you realize the purpose of budgeting is not to limit your freedom, but to give you freedom, you will be on the road to loving your life and to also loving your bank account. And that's what we call winning with the money. So to finish, to close off, I am telling you, good luck with your budgeting. And remember that starting tonight, we are going to show our money who's the boss, which is us, and we're gonna get started today. Now it's time for question and answers.
My first question.
Sounds like a lot. Go ahead.
My first question is.
Can you please tell me who is talking so I can address you by
name? This is Kimroy again. Kimroy. Kimroy. K-I-M-R-O-Y.
Kimroy.
Yeah.
Okay, Kimroy.
According to the what you're talking about, budget, I already did mention about cutting up the credit card. Are you saying that we're trying our best to not to use our credit card as much as possible?
Yes. Try, because you see, when you use your credit card is basically an expense. It is an expense. But I'm saying if you can avoid using your credit card, avoid using it. If you can pay it off at the end of the month, fine. If you can pay off your credit card at the end of the month, good. So you spend your 20,000 on the credit card to buy whatever you want to buy. So let's say you go and you buy a new phone. And at the end of the month, when you have gotten your pay, you can pay off the card or you can pay a sizable amount on it. Sure, go ahead. But you have persons who they keep using the card and all they can pay is the minimum payment at the end of the month. And that is not helping. It only puts you in more and more debt. And we don't realize that we're paying the bank 50% interest on a credit card debt every month because you're spending money that is not really yours.
I also have this question as well.
Mm-hmm.
You have two cards.
You have what?
One suppose you have the two types of card. You have the credit card and you have the debit card.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's possible, like you are working as well? It is sometimes possible you use a debit card just to pay off your credit card?
Absolutely. But that's what you do. That's how you pay your credit card. Is a debit card you're using. For those of all of us who have access online, the money goes to your debit card, your debit account, Your debit card is really your savings account that you have at the bank. And when you put the money there, that's what you use and transfer to your credit card to pay off the debt.
Okay.
But most times I would definitely recommend try as best as possible. Use your debit card because debit card is actually money that you have. That's your money. And when it's finished, it's finished. But for the credit card, you just keep paying back and don't forget the 50% interest. Some banks might be 40, some 42, some 45. But I mean, it ranges between 40 and 50% for the interest rate on credit cards.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome.
Okay, hi, I'm Sajay.
Hi,
Had a
Sajay.
question as well. So I had to like miss a part of the presentation, just a small part, but then I came back in to hear the part where you were saying cutting up the credit cards. I was laughing because, to be honest, I haven't been so unfortunate where the credit card is beating me.
Okay.
However, I did hear a bit of new thank you. I did hear a bit of new information just now because I don't think I knew that the interest was between 45 and 50. Not so sure why I don't know that. But since here, and this is just like a bit of info that I wanted to share, and you can tell me if it is a good practice or no. I found out recently when Scotia changed their rates in October, whenever it was, that every time you swipe a debit card for Scotia, you are charged $12.60. I also found out that at the end of every year, I'm charged a percentage. I'm charged an annual fee for my credit card. So I was thinking to myself, why am I going to be paying $12.60 every time I have to swipe my debit card? So what I've been doing is I put everything on the credit card because I'm already paying for that per year. First of all, I have no choice. Put everything on my credit card and then use my debit card, of course, whatever money is in the debit account to just pay that off. And I'm still getting back my rebate. So it seems so far like a good practice. I don't
That's
know
what
who
I was
wants to
about
try
to
it.
say to you. That's
It
also a
works
very
for
good
me.
point. What Sajay, that's a good idea. What you can do is, so you're online and let's say you're paying your utilities. You pay the utilities with the credit card, then you transfer the money back from your debit card same time to your credit.
Exactly. Yes.
So at the end of the month, you get back your rebate from the bank.
Yes.
And you're not charged any interest.
And you still get interest on the debit account.
And you still get interest on the debit account.
Win-win.
Yes, absolutely. But be careful because if the bank finds out, they're going to find some other way. I'm telling you, they'll find some other way to charge you. But that's a very good idea. That's what I started doing like about 4 months ago.
Yeah, it's been working. So guys, there's a new
Absolutely.
tip. There you go.
Hi, good evening. I have a question.
Yes, what is your name, please?
My name is Mr. Miller.
Hi,
I'm
Mr.
tuning
Miller.
in all the way from Portland, but I'm at St. Mary at the moment. Very good presentation, Sister Burton. I really admire the way in which you delivered. I learned a lot, and I should say it's very informative. My question, however, though, is that I have trouble sticking to a budget, the discipline aspect of it. You all know that when you create something and you walk on the street and you buy a one thing here and you buy a one thing there, it's very difficult to maintain that discipline in budgeting. What are, let's say, 3 ways in which a person or me specifically can execute discipline in practicing budgeting? And the second question is, I know you're from Portland, but you said that you used to visit Spanish Town. Did you have business there? So that's my 2 questions.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I had friends. I was the only one living in Kingston at the time because I was away from family. And I had some friends living in Spanish Town. So I went and I visit them. Okay. All right. So back to your question about your discipline. I mentioned earlier that you could have an accountable partner, an accountability partner. That person will help you to stick to your budget as best as possible. So you can share, and that doesn't have to be your wife, your girlfriend. It doesn't have to be. It just means that it is somebody that you trust. It could be a far uncle. It could be somebody that, you know, you have so much confidence in. And you say to that person, I am writing a budget. My salary is $50,000 a month, and I want you to help me to stick to it. So if you should go and about to spend something, you should reach the level of maturity in your life that you can say to your accountable partner, you know, I really need to buy a shoes. Your accountable partner is going to turn to you and say, you don't really need the shoes. You have 10 pairs. Why do you need another one? As a matter of fact, that's not a need, that's a want. Do not buy that shoes. And you don't have to feel guilty because that person will hold you accountable. And that person will tell you when you're wrong. Don't do this, don't do that. Just keep you on the straight and narrow to being a good money manager.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'll try my very best to apply those knowledge. I hope it works, and I will try to apply. Thank you.
I hope so too. You're welcome.
All right, Sanjay here again. Quick question. Do we have any advice for like people who don't have a steady income or income? How do we suggest to them to budget?
Sanjay, I did say it. So let's say the person who doesn't have a steady income, you budget the lowest amount that you can get at any given time. So the lowest of income. So let's say the lowest amount you will get is minimum wage, which I think is $7,000 a week. So you cannot be paid lower than $7,000 a week wherever you work. And that's what you're getting. But sometimes you can get 9, sometimes you can get 15. You budget the 7 and keep budgeting the 7. When you get the difference, then you can apply that. You will have a list of other things, and then you put, in case I get any more money this month, what would be the first thing that I would buy or that I would want to do? Maybe you want to open an account, Omni, or a savings, an education fund for your child. Could be your niece, your nephew, whomever. It could mean that you want to help a child at church, whatever it is you want to do. So when you get that extra fund, the next best thing that you want to do, you do it. So you're not going to budget every week 10,000 because you're not getting 10,000 every week. You budget the smallest amount you'll ever get at any given time.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any more questions? No. Thank you for having me. And I hope that you all learned something. And going forward, we will be perfect money managers, and we are going to show our money who is boss. We are in control of our money. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. I just want to use this opportunity to thank our presenters, Mr. Garfield Goldburn and Mrs.
Repeat.
It's Mrs.
Yes.
Mrs. Veron Burton.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming. I know these information, they were really informative. I personally learned something, and I'm sure that everyone here on this platform have learned something, and you have opened up at least one individual's eyes tonight on budgeting. So it is really a pleasure having you here, and we are very pleased and very, what's the word I'm looking for? We are very happy that you came and the information that you give us. Thank you once more. Yes, Sajay, we're really grateful. Thank you. Thank you.
Kevin, it was my pleasure being here. If only you knew when I was leaving work this afternoon, I was so nervous. I was saying, oh my goodness, what is happening to me? I'm having so much nerves, but God is good. Thank you for having me.
God is good because we couldn't see that you were nervous. God is good.
All right, good night, everyone. So let us pray to close. Loving God, loving Father, Lord, we just want to give you thanks for this session that was just held. Lord, I ask that as individuals, Lord, we'll be better stewards of our money, Lord. I pray that as individuals, we make right choices as we live our daily lives, loving Father. And Lord, as the Bible tells us in Philippians that we are to be content in whatever state we find ourselves, Lord. Help us to do just that, Lord, and to make wise and smart decisions with our money. Continue to be with us and bless us. In your name I pray. Amen.
Have a good night, all, and let us look forward to being good money managers, especially as we travel on this Christian path. Good night.